Yeah, it's all downhill.
I think I want to add, did we get bike trails on the list?
We have not only a downhill bike course, but we have a pump track
There's a lot of bike trails on that list.
and, hold on.
How about beginner bike trails?
Beginner bike trail.
It should be fully charged, but.
Are you writing that for Jesse?
Yeah.
I was gonna, but I'm trying to look at battery life.
I think I have a full battery.
All right, beginner bike trail. So that's one that you would like on there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Nikki's gonna put it on the list.
Thank you.
There's not two N's in beginner. Is it two?
Don't worry, those things don't have spell check in them.
Good.
All right, any other suggestions? Anything in the room?
No.
Okay, very good. All right, then we are going to move towards figuring out where these all live in terms of our high impact or our impact versus effort. As a reminder, impact we defined as being, does it bring in revenue? Is there lots of people that would be using it? Is there some longevity or some, and some safety around it? And the safety we didn't initially put up there, but it came up later. This is why I brought this some additional support. So those were so safety,
Yeah, what did that?
can somebody remind me? I'm losing context. How did the safety piece come up?
I think we're talking about fire mitigation.
Okay, that sounds familiar, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, like it could make our community safer, basically?
Yeah,
Okay,
because impact, like,
Yeah.
it's not all like sexy, like,
right.
like, oh, we have a pool. It's like, oh, now maybe we won't all burn.
That's true. Like the connectivity could also be there and like the.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
my recollection.
The less
but
sexy stuff.
Someone
Okay.
else chime in.
Yeah, because there was even a question was like, does ProSet have, I don't know, jurisdiction over that or whatnot? Is that something that ProSet wants to be looking at?
Fire mitigation?
It was something around, fire mitigation or something along those lines, if I remember correctly.
That's not, but that, I mean, definitely on all town park
And I
and
think
open
that's the
space.
conclusion that we came to. It's like, well, it's town space, so.
100%.
We do have some.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when it comes to mitigation of private property and the
Right.
building code, then it's totally
That's a
outside
totally
your purview.
different
But
thing.
yes, I agree kind of, but I think we've always felt like when it comes to mitigation, we have to lead by example. We can't be enforcing other people to do it if we're not even gonna do it for our own public
Yeah.
spaces. And that's something
Should come
Nikki and
up.
I have always felt very strongly is like, try to get the grants, try to get the funding to lead by example and say, look, we did it, now your turn.
And the
Okay.
ruminants.
Very
Yeah.
cool. All right, well then let's go ahead and start. That was impact, and then effort was, what's the time, what's the work, what's the person power? Is it upfront cost? Is it ongoing costs? Those were all the things that we were considering back then. So those are our definitions. All right, let's bring it back over here. One of the things under education was connected routes with maps and signs for town. Is this considered high impact, low impact, high effort, low effort?
High impact, high effort.
Would you say that again? I'm sorry.
So this is connected route,
High effort,
right?
low effort.
Connected routes throughout.
Trail connectivity,
Trail connectivity with map signs for town.
high,
High
high,
impact.
high.
High impact, high effort, or low effort?
Yeah, it depends on that. It's a little bit twofold for me because like we're interviewing for multimodal transportation plan. I think mapping it out, low effort, building it, high effort. So to me, that has a two-part.
How much,
Good
how much still needs to get built out?
Well, I think even what's already built needs to be reconstructed.
Yeah, we have sidewalks on First Street that are toast. We have the sidewalks ends at County Road 130. We have, there's
I think-
connected routes. There's a lot of work that needs to be done.
I think it's high,
The
high.
maps and signs part of it, probably
Isn't
not
another
too hard.
wayfinding posted, like
There is a,
activity on town trails?
So we've got,
Yeah.
let me just make sure.
So we already have that up there.
Yeah.
If we're
Okay, so we
talking
have some trails.
specifically about with maps and signs and
Okay.
things like that, if we want to talk specifically about that, I'd say high impact, lower effort, because we have many of the maps already.
Right.
DDA is working on signage. Some of those components will happen soon.
So Nicole, I think the like actual building and like fixing and connecting is the high, and then the maps and signs is the high-low.
Let me ask you, is this a progression? Is this dependent upon this happening first?
Not the maps and signs is probably could happen before the connectivity component as far as is effort and money.
Okay.
Maps and signs.
Like we could have signs for current state, and then if we do more connectivity, update
Update
those.
them. Yeah.
Okay, so if I say this is for connected routes with maps for town in current state, then you all.
Then I would
agree-
say low effort.
Then you would agree that it's a low effort, but high impact.
Yeah. I wonder who wrote that. I wonder.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Must have been
Someone who's not here.
teams.
So,
Lindsay,
Lindsay's right here.
Casey.
okay, so. if
All
we-
the new.
We'll see if somebody
So
connected routes, I can't recognize.
Oh, because Casey's.
Okay, so for current state,
Coming.
if we were to just do the maps and the signs, low effort, high impact.
yes, yeah.
All right, as a reminder, disagreement is encouraged. If you really feel strongly about something, I hope to hear from you. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the rest of the education pieces. More cultural history, informational signs that tell a broader story of Ned, people, places, to be more welcoming. So this is taking our historical, information and putting signs up around Ned.
I love that.
Yeah. Say that's like high impact, low effort.
Do you think it's high impact?
I think it's low impact.
I think
low
it's
effort.
culturally high impact potentially,
Yeah.
like from an inclusivity.
I mean, just because I love it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love
Like
the
your
history.
cemetery sign.
If I had a hobby, it would be history. But how many people are into history? I don't know.
And that specific history, right? I mean, it's cool, right? It's got a cool
Mhm.
effect. But
How many
how
people will
is it,
stop and read?
is it going to have a high impact on locals, visitors that might come along?
You look at how many people stop and look at the steam shovel. You know, there's a few a day, maybe. In
Yeah.
High season,
So where am I putting this?
low impact.
I don't know.
low effort is
Jason wrote that down, so I don't know if you want to see if he,
This is Jason.
pretty sure.
You're so.
Oh, I don't really look. It's so interesting because as a new board member, I'm really more dependent on what the more seasoned folks have experience and know than me giving an opinion. But I feel like I'll just say this. I think if you're prioritizing like what's most important to get done, that may not be a high, to do right now, in my opinion. So I'll
Okay.
just start there.
But it would be low effort.
Effort.
Yeah.
So it's something that
So
maybe we don't need to prioritize.
Low
So it's a
hanging
box we
fruit.
could check.
Yeah.
So are we saying that this is a low impact, high effort?
No, it's low effort.
Low effort?
Low effort. Yeah.
Low, low.
So we're doing low, low. Okay, very good, very good. Okay, Ned is recreation outdoors in our brand.
What?
So we are recreation outdoors in our brand. So this is the whole idea
Brand.
of a town within a park mentality. So I'm actually, if it's okay, I'm gonna probably put these two together. So this idea that our brand is a town within a park and that we're about recreation.
Because my feeling is because we're about to launch the marketing branding activity that I think it's low effort, high impact.
I agree. That's what
Because
I
we're
was
gonna
say.
have consultants.
I think it's low, personally. I think I don't know. I'm skeptical that it's that
Well,
useful.
if you think about Arkansas, when we went to Arkansas,
Mm-hmm.
they branded, the, now I can't remember the brand, but but their brand is very popular, the Oz brand.
Mountain bike capital of the world.
Yeah, and the mountain bike capital of the world. And that brand has huge impact in the mountain bike community. Everybody knows the Oz brand. Um,
All right, I guess
Never
the
heard
feeling
that
is
statement.
like, so Nederland is known as the home of the frozen decade days. Like that's not our future anymore. And so what is our future? And there's been a lot of passion about the future being the parks, recreation, outdoor, that side of Nederland. And it goes back to that theme of Nederland is a town within a park. You know, I think that those things have impact, especially when you're looking at grant funding. Like, I don't think branding is not worth it. I think that branding actually has a huge play in how the board of trustees structures their priorities. If it's not in line with the town's brand, then it's not something that ideally they would be working towards. That's why I do
I
think
think it also, if I can jump in, sorry, when you're done.
Nope, you're good, Sam, go ahead.
Didn't mean to interrupt you. I think the other thing it does, it sends a signal to anybody who wants to come and, live here, and also to participate in like visiting and recreation and business. It sends a pretty big signal when you say, this is our brand as a town, and this is the direction we're headed.
Yeah,
plus
I guess
merchandising.
I think
I think the impact is kind of low immediately, but I think over time it actually has a snowball effect kind of impact, but it's a low immediate impact is how I would kind of describe it.
Yeah, I think my 2 cents on it is that it's low impact if action doesn't follow the brand. So like to me, all of the actual projects are by far and away higher impact than creating a brand, because if we don't actually do so, it's a little bit of a chicken and egg. I'm totally fine with it being on there. I think the actual action taken to invest, but I agree with Miranda's point. It's helpful for like grant fundraising and that sort of thing. But anyway, it's
Yeah,
really doesn't matter that much.
I guess wherever you put it, to your point, if we're going to create a category of what's already existing, like this is existing.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Like, we
whether
don't
it
need
has
to do
high impact,
this.
low impact, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter, because the work's already going to get done, whether you prioritize it as a board or not.
Exactly.
You're going to be at the table when we talk about branding, regardless.
Yeah, it's already happening. So
It's happening, and it's sort of outside the domain of ProSab, even though ProSab is going to influence it.
Correct.
Yeah.
we
So
are.
it's kind of,
Yeah, I mean, the consultants that we'll secure will do public outreach and engagement and meet with all the advisory boards and
Nice.
commissions.
Yeah.
But it'll be led by a consultant team
Cool.
who will come solicit that feedback.
yeah. And so, I mean, having your guys' voice as a part of that, I think would be, I mean, if we say that we're by the park, like, you guys should kind of be having a leading voice in that.
For me, it's a high impact because I can start merchandising. And once I have a brand, once I have a
this is
logo,
true.
I can start putting things on t-shirts and selling it at the rink and selling it at the visitor center and bringing in money.
So there is something around
There's
the
a revenue. component.
in revenue components,
Like a
and
full
grant
logo.
funding and something, yeah, so.
Yeah.
So you guys tell me, you guys are the bosses.
I mean, I think ultimately it doesn't matter that much because it's already happening, right? Like, so high, like low, it's going to be low impact. Oh, wait, sorry. It's going to be low effort. And it seems like the majority is for high impact.
I think the question, go ahead.
Yeah.
Jim.
No, go ahead, Sam.
I just think it's high impact. Is also just putting my 2 cents in. That's all. Low effort, high impact.
I guess the question we have to ask ourselves is, what is the action from it, to say that? Like, what does that mean for us as ProSab to do? Which sort of dictates the impact to a degree, like our ability to have an impact.
So what Miranda was saying is that their town is already like hiring a consultant to do
Okay, yeah.
on branding, and so it's happening.
Right. And
Right, so it is that makes sense. So it's like it's already happening. So it's kind of like we'll be part of that process, but there's not actually too much for us to do. We all think, or like I think it's very important, but it's not necessarily like something we can do, because it's already happening outside of this board in a way as a priority.
Was what she said.
Yeah,
so.
but I would argue, so once the tourism marketing plan is done, not only will we walk away with a brand and identity, we'll also walk away with an actual plan about how we promote that brand and identity. That falls on the public engagement manager to, again, work alongside, but it doesn't really even fall within this group, these departments. It's got its own vessel for this to happen.
Just my 2 cents real quickly. I guess the biggest thing is one is already happening, so that's great. And defining identity is always great. We all need one. I'm sure But I do worry about the marketing net and how it's going to obviously increase the already strained resources that the town already has by promoting more people to come in and recreate, um, which, you know, maintenance and operations may increase because of that that promotion. So I'm just throwing that out there as a caution.
Yeah, maybe I'll just from a staff standpoint, what we're asking the board to consider prioritizing is to welcome that increase, because with that increase comes money. With that money comes the ability to create more robust departments, to work on our infrastructure. We really are at a place now where we almost need the economic boost in the tourism. But you're right, yes, then it will put pressure on fixing the parking, fixing the roads. But there's no way for Nederland to continue to do all the incredible things that we want to do without some sort of, Jason, we've talked about this, but some sort of revenue stream. And I think one of the things we haven't tapped into is really that robust, responsible though tourism. What came out of Reimagined Destinations was this responsible tourism, being really mindful of where you are. It's not about like wrecking our natural assets, but doing a reimagine. What it's called is a discuss. What is it? What's in my mind? But there's a phrase in which do Nederland right, which is like this whole campaign about like what it means to come here, what it means to do right by it. But I think we have to unfortunately kind of feel the pain of the visitors in order to have the financial means to then address.
Sure, and we have
the impact.
visitors that are coming on a regular basis. They're going to West Magnolia, they're going to Indian Peaks Wilderness, they're going to Eldora, but they're not stopping in Ned. So how do we get them to
Yeah.
stop? The traffic's here, but we need them to stop in town. We need them to buy a beer or to get a T-shirt with the town logo on it, and go to my ice rink instead of going to Eldora, or
Yeah,
like
yeah, for sure.
promote our town, get the tourists to stay in town, not just travel through it and clog up our roads and park here and go to the trail. It's like stay here, spend your money here.
So can I?
It's like a
Can I
good.
suggest we actually move on from this particular conversation? Because I think it's going to be an ongoing conversation and we will be engaged by the town on this, if I'm correct. But I think like we do need to get to the rest of the.
Yeah,
One last,
good call.
our brand doesn't have to be for tourism. It can also be for locals, and doing for locals first is going to land much easier for our local population. If we promote that. Next, okay, trail sign,
Right, trail signage for Stinky Goat.
oh, trail signage
I
for
didn't write
Stinky
it.
Gulch.
Just like
Trail signage for Stinky Gulch.
On a trail?
that was something that came up in your guys' farmers market outreaches. I think CT wrote that one, and one of the most popular things was to put some signage where the trail is in Stinky Gulch. There's some homeowners and landowners back there. I would say very low impact, very low effort.
And does this connect into our connectivity of town trails?
It connects more with the signage, the routes and signs.
It's
for
like
that.
an existing trail rather
Okay.
than building new
Yeah,
trails.
that's exactly the same. It falls in that same category.
Okay, but you would say that it's low
But
impact.
one, if we're gonna do one trail sign, low impact, low effort.
Okay,
Nobody even goes to that trail. It's the bottom side of the cemetery.
okay, all right.
Go to the town shop.
So my question is, if we were creating a plan for this, we probably create, and for those who are online, this one says connected routes with maps and signs for town. If we were creating a whole plan for that, this would be just one component
Yes.
of this overall plan.
Yep.
So are you all okay if we can kind of combine these?
Yep.
Or, okay. All right. Kick-ass volunteering ring support.
You okay?
Yes, thank you for asking.
Okay.
That to me, has very high impact and it's very low effort because we have a huge amount of our local as well as tourist population that come to the rink. To me, that affects not just our patrons, our visitors, but it also affects town staff. Last rink season, my town staff was putting in 120 hours of pay period because of the rink, because I didn't have the volunteer support that I needed. at the rink.
What does it mean
Yes,
exactly
yeah.
though? Does it mean like ProSab takes on volunteer management for the rink essentially?
No, you could take on some volunteer hours for sure, and you could also help me raise money for that rink.
Okay, so which is,
I don't know who wrote that.
I mean, it's like, to me, it makes sense for someone to start like mobilizing and engaging like, I don't think it makes a lot of sense for ProSab only, right? Like, it makes sense to maybe like do outreach and like collect like a core of volunteers. But if it's just the people who are already on ProSab, I feel like we need to reach out more broadly if the expectation is a lot of volunteers, because like
I
people
can't
here
do
are.
a lot of volunteers. Like, I need a core group for as far as like handling that. If it's volunteering to raise money for the rink, then how about it? Raise me some money.
Okay.
But you just want someone to like staff the snack shack and things like that.
I need people to take shifts, but they
Okay.
would be like that. Those shifts would be like the same shift every week.
Yeah.
I don't need a whole ton of volunteers.
so this is a volunteer program, like having, like you said, steady volunteers to staff it, but then there's also a component of someone that is dedicated to fundraising for the
Sure.
rink.
Yeah, I don't know who wrote that, what they had intended when they wrote that one, but that's what I need.
Okay, so there's a couple of things here. So we already have dedicated development director to purposely just focus on fundraising, or somebody focus on fundraising. So a component of this would go into that, right?
Sure.
But the other piece of it is having a volunteer program put together. Is there anybody online who has thoughts on that?
I have a thought.
Sure, go for it.
With having staff member in charge of the rink solely. I know. Nikki, I'm not signing you up.
Sorry, did it. That's actually one of my favorite parts, but that's,
Yeah, I'd like to volunteer to drive the Zamboni and get trained on.
Yep.
Maintenance it and help with
you're
that.
hired. It would be helpful to me, and I've said it that in my next budget, what I need is a seasonal rink. So
Yeah.
last year, my seasonal rink employee was one of the rink board members who actually was putting in like 7 hours a week while my staff was putting in 60 plus. So that rink employee needs to be present.
Yeah.
Committed.
And that was
Okay,
Yeah.
so what I did is I did create one that said, somebody to actually raise funds for
Yeah.
the rink. And then this is create a volunteer like program.
Ooh,
Perfect.
thick. That's
So
great.
where does this go, folks?
To me, that's hot. To me, in the Parks Department, in the real boots on the ground world, a volunteer program, not even just a rink volunteer program, but a volunteer program for
Yeah.
parks, that's high impact, high effort.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Cause like, I feel like the key with that is like, I guess what I was trying to say earlier is the key to me with that is getting someone who can actually take on most of the like outreach and coordination of the volunteers ideally. Cause if it's just like
And then I can come in
sporadic
and train the
volunteers.
for the day, no big deal, or my staff can, but to get somebody that is like Kat just organized a couple of weed pulls. That was huge to me because it was a huge piece that needs to happen, but she also took a big chunk off my plate. Like that's
Right.
a huge
And so
thing.
you need someone, I think, who can actually take point, what I'm saying is not just like, we need people to go to Nikki and be like, I want to volunteer, but like someone who can actually like be the person that they can be like, I want to volunteer. Okay, schedule you in. And then obviously like they need to communicate and get trained and all that sort of stuff. But like someone who can actually be and reach out a little further, like who out there wants to be a rink volunteer? Like what day can you do? Can you do like, you know what I mean? Like,
What the food pantry has.
Can we-
yeah,
can we
totally.
cross out the word rink and just keep it create volunteer program?
For parks? For parks?
Mhm.
Okay, question, just.
Now you're getting close to what I'm thinking about creating for town.
So then,
We'll talk about that
is
later.
would this be appropriate to, if somebody had the bandwidth, this could be a ProSab member?
Totally. If somebody came to me and said, all right, I've got
I've got your volunteer program.
June 10th, June 24th, and whatever other day we said, June 10th and 11th, and June 24th, and those are the days we're gonna do weed pull. Great, perfect. Now I'll send my staff down June 10th, 11th, 24th to give you guys some training. But I didn't have to do any other work. Kat did the outreach. Kat did the planning.
So is this, are we okay of this up here?
I
Anybody
love
have
that
any
idea.
strong feelings or strong feelings?
Kat,
Okay.
good job.
Now,
Did you just volunteer?
Oh,
now,
I'm not doing that. I'm doing the week pools.
So-
Someone else can do the
so
rink.
we've got a couple of others that I think probably fall in here. Help staff execute the 5 Barker volunteer days. So if we've got someone that's dedicated to coordinating volunteerism for parks, that falls in there, as well as volunteer coordination for Sunnyside area.
Is Peter not doing volunteer coordination?
It's doing volunteer promotion.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
okay.
it's necessarily.
I
No,
just
I'm
want
not
to make
saying
sure
we
we're
can't
not.
support you
Yeah,
in that, but I think everything's promoting it.
And Peter's online.
I
Hello,
am.
Peter.
I jumped in a bit late, but
Peter?
yeah, hi. I definitely can help, but I think there needs to be someone that is a dedicated point person for organizing volunteers.
I just want to make sure we weren't like stepping on.
Whether that's
Yeah,
nice.
Nope,
He basically announced-
he's making sure the message gets out there in the world.
Right, which he did with the week pool.
So
Yes,
we're okay,
we got it.
these things can come
Yeah.
together under our volunteer program
Yeah.
for parks, okay? Very good, very good. Okay, so we've got a couple more here. Now, these are all under studies, all right? Clarify the legal status of town open spaces.
You know, the only thing for that is just the cost. You know, it's attorney time. It's a lot of money.
So
Clarify legal
Effort,
status. What does this get us?
I mean,
by
it's
the way?
low impact, you know,
What
but
does this get us?
I think
Right.
it is clear, I think, right? We have clarified that they really don't have any legal status besides being public property, right? So,
I think the desire though was to create language in the code, which costs money.
Rezoning.
so change, rezone would be a
I
better.
think I think it's low effort for sure. I think the question is the impact and just recognizing that it's going to come at a cost, and that cost is going to come out of
parks.
parks budget.
Does it have to go through the MPP?
No, not
But
for
if
ordinance
it's,
change.
if it's high money, that's
Yeah, where's money
high
from?
effort.
I think I am curious,
And I think
like,
it's low impact, high effort.
Hmm.
That's just my opinion.
Jason, I believe this was yours. Do you have anything else to add to this one, clarifying the legal status of town open spaces?
I thought that was
Definitely
CT.
not mine.
PT.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
CT.
CT.
CT wants to be able to create language that basically, I think the recommendation was to just put conservation easements on these properties rather than to use zoning
Rezone.
to create conservation.
Yeah.
Because
Less
any board could come
reversible.
forward and say, well,
Yeah.
no, we don't want our public land to be used as that, and they could just rip the conservation right off.
Yeah.
So making a conservation easement was way, but again, a lot of attorney time
Yeah.
goes into that.
Is conservation easement somewhere else on there? I thought.
I
it was.
thought so.
Like use conservation easement to protect our public spaces.
Because you're not gonna protect your public spaces
Create
through your
new
ordinances,
conservation
because
easement
those can change in a
category.
moment's notice.
It's already in high impact, low effort.
Oh. an impact word.
Create new conservation easement
Nice.
category.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about effort, it's not really like, it's not a ton of attorney time, it's just the cost. And I just don't think we have cost up here. So if we take the cost out of it, I would agree it's low effort, high impact to protect your open spaces so that no future board can ever
Can't
decide
keep my
they
park
want to build
for parking.
a big structure on a
Really?
park because it's publicly zoned.
Yeah.
Can we put money on effort?
Is money effort? I don't know.
Time, work, person.
No,
power.
impact.
Like person power,
Impact
which is
is
a
So
effort.
this is revenue.
Yeah, I mean
Effort.
spending.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Outlays of
effort,
money.
yeah, effort we did not identify as,
No,
money,
external money.
like that we've cost.
Outlays.
Should we add that?
Would you like
I
to
think
add it?
that's, yeah.
I
Everything,
mean,
everything on your board is gonna cost
Yeah.
in some
it's
capacity.
trending,
Okay.
that, you know, a lot of our infrastructure pieces are a high
Right.
cost,
Yes.
right? Lower effort are things like resurfacing the pickleball, maybe not building a whole new, you know, connectivity trails or whatnot.
Because I don't know if I would look at finances in this conversation, just because I think everything has a cost,
Okay.
whether it's a true fit, there's a true financial cost, or it's town staff time, it's yours, I mean, there's a cost every which direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think we
Okay,
can't,
so do we want to, the clarified legal status of town open spaces, is this something that we?
I think that's the same.
I
it's
think
the
it's,
same.
I would
the
strongly
same.
recommend not to using our zoning code to create the
Yeah.
conservation that I think is CT's desire there,
Okay,
is to forever protect these public lands.
Yeah.
Mhm.
okay,
And I
All
wrote
right,
the
so
easement
if we
one.
put that there. This is conduct a feasibility study to determine the fiscal health capacity revenue options.
That's Jason for sure.
That's Jason. All right.
I
So yeah, feasibility study to, I guess, Jason, is this to assess like all the options that we can have from a public, from a pro staff perspective?
yeah, I mean, usually, there's typically just your generic ones, right? Sales tax, property tax, and bonding, revenue bonds, and things like that. Geo bonds is what typically you would look at first. But there are also, unique things like soda tax, right, or GRT tax, gross receipts tax. I don't even know we do that in Colorado. But there are a variety of other types of options that we can look at. My biggest thing with feasibility studies is that my hope is to get trust for public land to be able to do it at no cost, right? Typically, that's going to cost money. And we do those feasibility reports if it really if the area is not just focused on O&M. And so that's the hard part. It's like, how can we look at other commitments that may relate to, climate, health, equity, things like that. At least those three commitments. But all in all, I think it would be nice to have a report developed, and so this board just has a point of information to be able to make a decision or not, but at least have that information readily available. So
How much can we pull our comp planner to do?
I think we're trying to pull our comp plan in a lot of different directions, and I'm not sure the money will take us that direction.
Would this be part of the Prost master plan?
All right, I think the Prost master plan needs some revisiting, because once Amanda and Sarah are done, who's gonna pick it up without hiring a consultant? I'm just not really sure that the subject matter experts are in this room. I think there's a lot of very smart people in this room, not mine. But I'm just not sure I think your pros, we're gonna have to try to secure alternative funding to get that over the hump.
Could this then be
Yeah.
part of Prost?
I think so. I think it's high impact, high effort.
Yeah.
Because I just think we're gonna have to secure a third party. To Jason's point, I mean, we try to do all this stuff internally, and it's just not worth it, in my opinion. It's worth investing the money in the consultant.
Agreed.
Which is why we have consultants coming in to do our comp plan.
Yeah.
And I will say that I did already speak with my state director and spoke with our parks, trails, and schoolyards director separately. I wanted Emily, is her name. I wanted her to do a presentation in collaboration with me on next month meeting. I think it's June 15th, if I'm not mistaken. But she's not going to be able to be there, so I'm just going to do my own presentation and go from there. But yeah, I mean, like I say, you can hire a consultant if it's high effort. However, if I'm able to convince my research team and director, and then it's going to be free. So,
Yeah, pro bono.
That'd be great.
I like pro bono.
Okay, so if it's okay, we'll layer that under the updated Prost, right? And this is like when we get to that point of looking at and hiring the consultants to come in and help us all out with that. Okay, so there's a couple that I'm gonna actually combine, all right?
Great.
High
impact.
All right, so we've got a couple of tickets here for, double Nikki's pay, double Nikki's staff pay. And this is something that we've talked about as a BOT, is that we're going to really be taking a look at that very closely, come this fall. Once we're going through a compensation study right now, we are in the process of assessing, how we compare to other municipalities around us for size and type, although there's nothing quite like Nederland, I will say that. But the point being is
That's
that
our logo.
this is about increasing overall time, staff pay. So if you don't mind, I am going to lump them together, because we wouldn't actually consider management increases without also increasing staff increases. Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I also believe that this is also increasing staff size, right?
That's it. And I think.
I mean, I still think they all go together. It's size, pay,
Yeah.
Nikki on her own.
Overall personnel
whole-
budget.
Yeah, when it says 2
essentially.
times Nikki's staff, it's not talking about my staff pay. It's doubling
Body.
staff.
Doubling bodies. Okay, thank you. Can I put bodies?
But I still, to Kat's point, it's still all personnel and it's still all compensation.
Yeah, so it's still
Yeah.
a strategy around, right,
How to
compensation.
Equitably and sustainably staff the
Job
department.
titles, etc.
Although I will say, as of tomorrow, we're fully staffed.
Hey,
I know.
why would you say something?
You know, I can only,
You know that.
I don't think this is
I'm
real
gonna
life.
share the excitement.
Just put a
I put a moratorium on resignation.
It's true. All
Awesome.
staff knows this
Do that.
already.
All right, so where are we putting this one, folks?
I didn't know you could do that.
I think it's high.
effort.
High impact, low effort.
You can't, but we.
It's just hard because I don't think ProSab has much
Yeah.
say in this, so I'm not
I think
really
you can-
sure where to go with it.
Yeah, advocate when the budget comes forward. I think what I'd like to start seeing is the parks or the advisory boards and commissions weighing in on the budget and giving your 2 cents, really looking at, especially parks, as the parks budget match your priorities.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, to your point, I think advocating,
Yeah.
but not a lot of direct involvement.
Okay. So we're comfortable right here, high impact, low effort.
I think
Okay, excellent. Reoccurring revenue growth mindset. If you don't mind, this is not specific enough. And I don't know, and we can talk about like the specifics that it means and whatnot, but we've also got a lot of things here that are helping to create revenue.
Yeah.
By having a growth mindset. So if it's okay, unless somebody really opposes, I'm gonna put this one off to the side. Because I feel like we're capturing it, but we're just not gonna post that little post-it note in something, okay?
party.
All right, so now we're gonna go on to the rest of our education pieces. We've got wildfire education etiquette on trails and open space.
What is it?
Wildfire education / etiquette on trails / open space.
It's like, don't smoke on it.
Is that
Start
not
fires.
the fire mitigation?
Wildfire education / etiquette. Yeah, don't be a dumbass was what this should say.
So can
Like,
we
don't
put that
throw your
also
cigarette
on
butts?
high impact high effort with fire mitigation on town parklands?
Yeah, part of me just also wonders, and so Peter, since you're there now, does that fall into Peter's camp? Like, that's not just ProSep, that's our emergency manager, that's our fire department, that's our police department. There's a whole crew that goes into that education that's above and beyond parks.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if Peter, if it's all about we already tried it once, doing a really significant education mitigation Mondays, and it went nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
But that was really a Peter run campaign. We tried.
Yeah, but that was, you know, that was a low resource, just kind of throwing information at people and seeing what stuck. There are better methods to do that, and I do think that mostly falls into like our camp, but it would be cool to get ProSab involved in that.
Yeah, I just feel like maybe the champion is the public engagement world with
Yes.
support
I guess-
I
from.
would agree.
What if we went under the like the signage at the
Mhm.
trails? Because I think if we had like a
Mm.
little sign at every trail, then you might not have people going in and like starting fires and doing stupid
Right,
stuff.
fire ban and effect signs type.
Yeah.
May I also pull something else out here that I'm seeing a pattern of? There are some things that we're all agreeing that you guys should have some advocacy input on. Like, you're not necessarily touching it, you're not mulling it over day by day, but you are there to say, this is our opinion. And I almost think things like this, the branding, the finances, are
Yeah.
potentially things that you guys have some advocacy and some support work around, but you're not touching it day to day.
So it's
Yeah,
low
I mean,
effort.
Yeah, like I also wonder, because I remember the old goals that were on the website, they were out of date, but there was a section that was like, here's what we're doing. And then there was a section that was like, here's some other sort of like coalition building, advocacy stuff that's important to ProSab. It does seem like it might be worth having both of those, because it's not that it doesn't take time, but it's just, it's not like a project.
Well, and it just keeps you guys aware, like,
Yeah.
oh, budget's coming along. Like,
Right.
we've got to, what are we advocating for? And just making sure that it's not falling off the radar, but it's not the goal, the dated, every meeting sort of goal checking of like where we are in this program, right? But it's the things that you kind of have to just keep in mind.
And we could utilize it to be like, you know, at each monthly ProSab meeting, oh, this is coming up.
Right.
Are there one or two, I mean, if more people can go, that's great, but are there one or two people who could call into this BOT meeting and speak up on behalf of X, Y, and Z? Or, you know, so not one person isn't doing everything,
Right.
and also that we're covering our bases.
And maybe I know it's a little just super fast. So what the youth advisory board does is they set aside time in their meeting to draft a letter on things they care about. So you could also just designate one person to draft a letter on behalf of the board and have that discussion with the board. I think I can't speak for the board of trustees, but I'm going to assume that it's very impactful to know, like, as a whole group, you came forward and this is how we feel. So that way no one has to give up their night.
Yeah.
It gets in the packet. It's something for the board to read.
And
I
it's
love
not
that.
all on Jesse's shoulders.
Right, exactly.
Hey, you guys, on that note, I would like to speak on behalf of the ProSab when anytime decisions are made, and I feel like I can do more to liaison and to be the liaison, but I need to have a clear sense of what the opinion of ProSab is on any given meeting. So the more we can come to a decision, actually make a statement or a recommendation at a ProSab meeting, that gives me a ton of confidence to go to the BOT and say, hey, this is coming from ProSab and this is what we want to see happen.
And super quick, what we could just do that is what's on the board of trustees agenda for the next 30 days, like what's coming down the pipeline between now and your next process. I realize it's a tangent, but just food for thought is to do that. So we can get that advocacy on a regular
Almost a
basis.
staff report, but from ProSab to the BOT.
Agreed.
So how would that work? You would list what's on the agenda, on our agenda, what's on the bot agenda for the next 30 days, and then we would discuss as a group, as a discussion item, whether there's anything we want to write to the bot that's on there, and then designate one of us
to write.
Yep, that's typically what we do. And an example would be when the compensation study finally comes before the board.
Yeah.
You're going to want to indicate, yes, we support Nikki's raise. Yes, we support what's happening with the park staff. We're here for their structure, whatever that might be. And you write that letter as a group.
So we could put just a standing agenda item, and then we could ask what's coming up and allocate like some time to discuss. Is there anything we want to like have an opinion on?
If you could get it filled in beforehand from Miranda, that would even.
Board meetings are subject to change, like right down to the wire. They're subject to change, but we try our best to have a general idea of what we're doing.
Yeah. What I love about this too is it puts you guys more on the proactive side of things rather than reactive as well.
Yeah, totally.
Right? It's like, oh, boom, we know that we're going to be talking finance. So here's, so
that's great.
When you only meet once a month, you kind of need to stay.
It helps.
Great.
And when you're not allowed to discuss, it's like,
I like it.
Some other things that may also fall into this advocacy bucket that you guys are going to have to tell me. So, would actually take on, or is this something that you guys would advise and work with town on? And Miranda, you're going to.
Yeah, I know that there's been a lot of kind of conversations about like Native American proclamations, declarations. I think where we're struggling is we don't have individuals who identify or are part of certain tribes. And so I worry about us getting into something cultural like that without the right people.
I can connect you.
That'd be lovely.
I can too. Yeah.
Great.
Oh yeah, you definitely can.
So, but again, would this be something ProSab advises?
I thought that went with the like cultural
The historical
history sign. Like that's what I thought that was, but.
Oh, it could be.
Right,
Where
like
does
just
it put that?
I don't remember.
It might have been under something.
Oh, it could be.
Like if we're talking about Ned's history, then.
Oh,
that's
right
obviously
here,
part of-
more cultural or history informational sign that's on
Yeah.
a broader story.
But Miranda's right. We need to connect with like especially the Arapaho folks, but also like the Ute and the Cheyenne.
Okay, so are we saying that because it has this cultural history information, it's low impact, low effort? Is this where we're going putting it?
I think it's high impact, but that's my personal
I also like
political
I think
bias.
it's all that stuff, but that's just me personally thinking that history is more important.
I mean, for me, like specifically the part around starting to be more proactively acknowledging that we're on stolen land and like whose land it is incredibly high impact. I don't actually think it's low effort because relationships need to be built and you can't just be like, hey, tell us what to say. Like that's not cool. So it's higher. I think it's high impact, high effort actually, but I think it's also incredibly important.
Okay, other thoughts?
I agree with what Kat said, and I think kind of the fact that the town's gonna have their 150th anniversary, I think that could be like a really big milestone to like.
Wow.
Think about that.
Right.
Can we get that done in a year? Be sick.
When is the 150th? Is it next year?
Next 2024.
2024? Okay. Can I is it okay if I write this note? I'm gonna write a note.
Talking about Chipeta. by 20.
So do you want to decouple it from the other history signs, the land acknowledgement, or do you want to couple them and move both?
If we kept this one separate, it could be an obtainable goal by next year.
Okay.
That's what I think.
So
But
are
move
we in
it to
agreement,
high
high impact, high effort?
And honestly, a sign talking about Chipeta herself at Chipeta Park is something I've always wanted. They
Blows
have
my
one.
mind that doesn't exist already.
They have one in
Yeah.
Pagosa Springs.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the next one. Sorry, I'm moving us along. Awareness on protecting rare endangered plant species in parks and open space. Where do we put that?
Because I just wonder again, does that fall a little bit into Peter's world because that information gets fed to him from Rhea?
I didn't really hear that one all that well. What was it?
So awareness, so this is education on protecting rare endangered plant species in parks and open space.
I just feel like that's a public, like a educational campaign, Peter. So I just
Yeah.
wonder if they fall under you with guidance from ProSab.
I feel like that would actually kind of go the other way around. It would be something that ProSab would generate that we would push out. I honestly wouldn't know where to start, I don't think.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I was trying to say is like they feed you the information and then you craft the posting for
Yeah.
building awareness.
Okay, yeah. Then I think we're on the same page.
I think
There
low
are
impact, low
physical-
effort.
Is
though.
this like
Yeah, physical
web
signage.
posts? Is this
I don't think it can be signage. You need that all over the place. I think
Yeah.
that's just like alerting people to like, do you have this plant in your yard? You should protect it because it's an endangered species.
And
Like
that's
one of
why-
those.
Unless you wanted to do like in person workshops, that would be, I think, more on ProSab side.
I will say I wrote this one, and I guess what I was going from is when we had the presentation from the community member about the Moose Meadows open space, who was talking about that one endangered,
The woodland,
lily.
yeah.
the wood lily, and that's kind of just, I don't know, but then he also said he didn't want to draw attention to the wood lily because he
Right.
didn't want people to, so yeah, kind of
But
just threw it out there.
So in between the hotel and Chipeta Park, we have one called Coltsfoot, and it's a rare plant to the wetland in this area. And so we always try to protect it. Several years ago, someone had a bike race through the Coltsfoot, and it's still trying to recover. So if we had more people that were aware of our endangered plants and our rare plant species. up
It looks
in
like a
there,
dandelion.
we could protect it a little bit more.
Yeah,
So where does this fall? Help me.
Low impact.
Low effort.
What? Low impact, low
Like
effort?
a daisy.
Yeah.
Does anyone disagree?
It does look a little like a dandelion.
Low impact, low effort, once, twice, going down. All right, skate park maintenance team Payne.
Team Pain is a company.
Oh, okay.
I need a company to come up and do some maintenance. To me, that's a high effort because it is a lot of money. So we're talking a money component here, but it needs to happen. And there's a fairly large group of people that come to Nederland just because our skate park is so spectacular.
Is that something you need a grant for?
I think I can do it in my parks maintenance budget. It
Mhm.
just needs something to be something that I'm prepared to, like, that's gonna be a chunk of my parks maintenance budget.
So is
Okay,
this
so
something
maybe-
that ProSab affects, or is it the advocacy part that ProSab would do?
Advocacy, I think, more, because that's just me calling Team Pain and saying, we're kind of on your schedule.
But it's getting you enough money, so you have that in
And
your
also
budget.
to make sure that you're advocating for my budget to be enough money that I can protect our assets.
And yes and no, I guess I also, just a reminder that ProSab has a lot of their own money, access to their own funds. And so it's one of those like, is this a priority for ProSab, that which you'd use Eldora money or Conservation Trust money or whatever it might be, rather than asking Nikki to take it out of her budget? Is this something ProSab's willing to? It's a little bit of advocating because you're telling the board you want to release the funds, but you're willing to deplete your own source of revenue for.
Right, I would argue that ProSab's money should be held on to until that Americans comes for sale.
Sure.
That's what I'm dreaming big.
Sure.
That ProSab's money can be used as a chunk deposit down payment.
And maintenance seems like it should just be a line item, like it's not a big capital allocation where we would dip into.
And it could be
I mean, I guess it depends on how much money you're talking about, because
Yeah.
we don't typically budget line items
Right.
really high if they're considered
I
capital
guess I would
improvement
need to
projects.
look into calling Team Kane and finding out what that is gonna look like.
So
Where
maybe-
I was like sticker shocked with the price that the rink, the tennis courts was gonna charge. Sticker shock.
So maybe keep it an advocacy.
Where I
for
thought it
now.
was gonna be a budget item for me this year.
So is that okay if we keep it in advocacy and we can always move it out if things seem to change? Okay.
I would also say the same for the court resurface for tennis pickleball as well. That's an advocacy thing.
It's like right outside of the bubble and the.
And the high and low effort. It's all helping.
This one
I
right
just
here?
need your guys' support.
Yeah, aren't you just gonna ask for approval to use funds or something?
Yeah, well, so we're actually gonna come to the next person meeting to talk about.
Okay,
what-
so no action required on the board member's part.
Are you
Just
asking?
Tell me it's gonna be okay, dry my eyes.
But are you asking them for money?
No, I'm asking them, it's a discussion item.
Okay, so quick question. Does the better crossing across the peak to peak for elementary school, does that fall into our connectivity of town trails? Or is this something different?
I think it's something different.
It's the same, but it's also different because that is a huge task. That's a CDOT ask, so that's not really a town trail. Like that's us going to CDOT, finding the right person at CDOT that we can say, we need a crosswalk here. And that could be a task, so.
Maybe that's an.
I can see that doesn't actually prioritize things that aren't on their master plans. They're not just gonna be like, oh, okay, like it's just not how it works. You have to put in the effort to get on their master plan radar.
And so this is nowhere on their master plan right now.
No, but it was a high request from our farmers.
The
market
charrette.
outreach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, okay. Okay, so it could be a longer term sort of ask,
High effort.
high effort and high impact?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, how many people use that crosswalk or how many people would use the crosswalk?
My
I
guess
don't
it
know.
could be a lot if it feels safe, like if they do it well.
Do we have any, do
Do
we
you
have?
think it would be used by tourists and locals alike?
No.
No, I don't think so. I think it's high.
Where is it again?
Where?
From the community center to Navajo Trail. Directly across the street from the upper, where you enter to the driveway for the community center, directly across the street. Right now, the neighbors have put like pallets over CDOT's ditch. And they keep replacing the pallets out of the goodness of their heart every time the pallet falls apart. But it's not my world.
It would be a tough spot too for one.
And it's a terrible spot. You'd have to up the road a little bit for a visual. I mean, that is high effort. High effort.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, help me out. Where am I putting this?
I think it's high, right? Isn't it just someone liaising?
Guess, do we know how many people are attempting to use that though? I guess
Right.
I don't really
I
know
see
the
people
impact.
crossing there a lot.
It was
I
a
mean,
huge thing in our charrettes, like it was one of the.
yeah, it
things
was
that
one of the
came
most
up the
commonly
most.
requested things. I think.
I use it multiple times per week.
Yeah.
So high,
going.
I guess.
I'm going. Somebody tell me not.
All I
My,
know is
my daughter would ride to school on her bike there if there was a better crosswalk.
Yeah, I
Right.
use it at least once a week, and I don't even live there.
it would have to be up. It would have to be closer to Pomo.
So then, how about this one, the walking trail for the high school in Old Town? Does this fall under connectivity of town trails?
Yes, but I also think it falls on its own because it's not town land.
That's a.
It's a
We can't
similar.
just build it. It's a similar City of Boulder, Boulder County, Arapahoe
Mhm.
Ranch.
That's a
I-
collaboration, and that's also, it's high effort because we've already like put this on Boulder County's radar. They are aware that this is something that we want. They say it's gonna be $1 million plus, and it's only a section of sidewalk that's like literally from Old Town to the high school, so quarter mile.
Yeah, I just think the effort is a lot of negotiation, it's a lot of staff time, it's a lot of kind of working through all the multiple parties. I also think really high impact because we also know, it sounds like similar to elementary school, it's a huge thing for the high
Yeah.
school students.
It is.
Yeah.
And their safety.
And then I would say the sidewalk doesn't end in Nederland. The sidewalk could end at the high school.
Yeah, I think when we're talking the way I take connectivity of trails is like that's everything Nederland can influence. Is Nederland's parks, trails, open space. The second we start going outside our boundaries, is
Yeah,
where it
talk
becomes a
about-
different project.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
talk
me.
about
Yeah, I
collaboration.
think anything out of our jurisdiction needs to be on a separate.
That can have its own bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can have its own bubble. Is there something outside of jurisdiction that we need to put on its own bubble?
Yeah, I
The
think
No,
CDOT
just
one,
the-
right?
Just the elementary school and the high school, the
Yeah.
Old Town High School.
So
Those
the
two.
Then what about recreating? Oh, I don't know if we've done the recreating on Parker Rise.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's
Yeah,
another.
It's also out of our
Recreation.
jurisdiction.
Am I moving it?
yeah. Because that would require City of Boulder.
Okay.
Yep.
The thing is I need these to stay over in high impact, so we're gonna create another little bubble out of jurisdiction, but considered high impact, high effort. So.
That's a very nice bubble.
Yeah.
I tell you, bubble making was a whole class of doing facilitation. Okay, don't worry,
like
we'll make sure that this gets classified correctly. Now I've got a couple of ones that they either fall under connectivity on town trails or they become their own. So this is a walking path next to the creek through town on First Street side.
The DDA is already working on that.
I don't want anything to do with that.
Is it advocacy?
But
A
I
little
need you guys
bit.
to tell me that.
The DDA has a whole subcommittee dedicated to the Riverwalk.
So yeah, maybe advocacy with DDA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want nothing to do with that.
But
know.
but it's a trail, so pros.
They want to make it a sidewalk more.
Aren't they gonna have to come to us at some
Yes.
point?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, advocacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this
Eventually it'll
one?
be in my maintenance land. But
All open space has a pedestrian and bike trail through it. Something more of like a
my.
philosophy.
All open
Yeah.
space?
Do they mean parks as well as open space? Like,
All open space has a pedestrian and bike trail through it.
I mean,
That's
some
cool,
of the
but
parks
that's
are
a
like
high
tiny.
effort.
Jesse, was this yours?
Yes.
Yeah. High effort, high impact. I think it's high. That's a whole lot of work, whole lot of money.
I think that goes
To
under.
go, to say all, that's a lot.
Is this also all within our jurisdiction?
If we're talking about that.
I think it would only have to be our jurisdiction.
Yeah, we're not gonna be doing that.
So if I put it
We
right
can't
here.
build trails on other people's.
Now, can I also ask, this is specific enough.
It feels very.
That's
yeah.
because they're super broad.
Feels
It's
super.
a little
broad.
vague, yeah.
Feels super big.
It's not even all our parks are even larger, like we're.
No, just like
total-
Angel Park, like what?
That'd
we're
be
gonna- the train. Like, I
Angel
would
Park
really
with the
think
dog
about-
Doesn't make,
It
it doesn't
doesn't
make
even
sense.
Or like
Tilden Park?
Tilden, like, it would be kind of fun.
You could have clarity.
I-
Right,
Go around in the
It's
circle.
like little pocket parks
Over the
cutting a
rock.
trail.
Yeah,
through it.
over the
Seems
rock.
a little- I think it's a little too broad,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Although in theory, like the connectivity of the trails could drop you at a park, which then doesn't contain
So
a
I think
trail.
that would go with connectivity. on
Yeah.
top.
That's my question is.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've got a little subcategory. It's like a great philosophical thing.
Yep.
It's something to think about in terms of the connectivity that we have to all
Yep.
the trails.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, we're almost through this and then we're gonna start prioritizing, or we'll talk about prioritizing it, we'll get there.
Establish rare flora boundary in SM2 open space. I think so. That's Moose Meadows. South.
Yeah, maybe that's the same thing.
So
as
this
the-
is,
CT.
yeah, this is CT. Establish rare flora boundary in South Meadow Lake.
Okay, so
I think
But
that
this is-
goes with that one.
Yeah,
is it the
definitely
same,
goes with that.
awareness of protecting rare endangered plant species in parks and open space?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're okay?
Yeah.
Somebody speak up. Tell me no.
Nobody's gonna speak up.
All right, help move AmeriGas to the new property and pay for parks.
I am
And-
very for-
Are they gonna pay to move?
No,
Let me
help
see.
move AmeriGas to new property and
Buy it.
buy it for parks.
I think that's
I mean,
advocacy.
Yeah, what would be the pros to have asked there other than to spend our money on it?
Yeah.
Well, I do think that's high impact, high effort, but that's like,
And it's gonna be a long process.
I think that's why I think it's high effort.
But is it an advocacy thing? Is it?
I mean, if
I mean,
Prescott
at
could
this
do more
point-
than advocate, great.
At this point, we're just trying to get to the property, right?
Yeah.
We don't have any plans for it or anything.
Right, making it to a park.
We
or
just
something like
want
that.
to get to the property. So
I think
think
it's
it's
advocacy,
advocacy,
because
like-
there's no ask for a ProSab member. Like, you don't want us to
Unless
contact.
Unless ProSab knows the landowner.
Right.
Yeah, but I do feel like when you get into that level of negotiation, it comes out of boards and commissions and into the board of trustees,
I agree.
myself and our attorney.
So advocacy is great. Maybe that can be part of a
I
letter.
have some angles and some contacts. I think I could get in touch with the owner.
So FYI, I'm already in touch with the owner.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Let me know if I can help.
Hold
Do you
on.
want a giant
Not,
check?
not
like-
$1 million, but
Exactly.
yeah.
So I'm already in touch with the owner. I've identified her. We've exchanged. It's just we have to massage it, and it has to be
Gonna
because
say she friendly.
Can't
or
go straight into an app.
done.
yeah, you can't wait.
And they have a lease until next year, I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was this year.
But this year, I don't
think it's
remember.
this year. That's why I was trying to get in there. So okay. So if we can talk more about that, like as a strategy.
Yeah.
But are we okay, comfortable with this being advocacy?
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think like if ProSab funds are gonna be asked to use to facilitate it, then we should be kept in the loop or.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Okay, now we've got something here that was just added. It's called a beginner bike trails. And we've got the other items that we have that correlate to this is a downhill bike course, a pump track. But this, Jesse, maybe you could explain it a little bit more. This is specifically just beginner bike trails. Nothing more than that, correct? Okay.
Could it accompany either of those existing things, like the pump track has a beginner area or the downhill has a beginner area, or it would be separate?
You're on mute, Jesse.
Or could it be?
Sorry about that. The reason why I brought it up is because I could see it as being low impact, high effort, and I kind of changed my proposal based on the criteria. So guilty as charged. But what I
You mean high impact, low effort?
So what is it now?
But like,
yeah, high impact, low effort. Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I meant.
Okay, so you consider it high impact, low effort.
Hmm.
I think Jesse's right on the high impact, for certain, that a beginner bike trail would be.
So just up around the elementary school, there's a lot of young families up there. There's kids up there that are building bike jumps out of wood, just like I did when I was a kid. I would love to just see them be a little bit supported and embraced and kind of integrated by the town and by parks and by ProSab.
That's
And
happening in Big Springs Park as well.
Yeah.
yeah, they're just, the kids are craving it. And not only that, but they just started this Ned Shred program to make mountain biking accessible to all kids, regardless of their economic, if their ability to get a mountain bike. And it was highly successful. And kids across the board, about 50% of them took advantage of these free bikes that were secured by Gavin Coombs from Ned Gravel. And, you know, it was just a major hit. And we have a great mountain biking team with the high school. We have a world-class coach who's coaching them. It's really our competitive advantage in terms of if the kids growing up here are going to have some sort of elite athlete, that along with skiing, but we can't really affect the ski area that much, but we can certainly cater towards the elementary school kids, the high school kids, and start utilizing some of the open space we have to building some bike terrain. And I have offered to do some of that in coordination with Nikki, with my earthwork company. And therefore, I feel like in terms of the effort put out by ProSab, it could be relatively low and it could be very highly impactful for the kids and for this kind of approach towards connecting parks, encouraging non-motor vehicle travel throughout town, and so on and so forth. So that's why I put it on there.
So where does this go? So Jesse, you're advocating for it to go into high impact, low effort?
Correct.
It has to go through an NPP though, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that we could discuss and debate that a little bit. I was wanting to chat with you, Miranda, one-on-one about that a little more, but I think there's some
Any sort of recreational asset on a town land, it requires the public process.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. We have assets currently on town land that could take some very small modification that could optimize them towards bikes a little bit. It would be really good for the youth, and it wouldn't be changing anything. It would just be
So
optimizing them, tweaking them a little.
Jesse, would it be appropriate maybe to split this into two different things? One would be support to optimize existing beginner bike trails on town land, and a second could be expand beginner bike trails, something.
New trails, new trails I would see that as needing to go through the MPP.
Yeah, maybe we
existing trails.
The one like what you're saying is like helping out with what's already at Big Springs and by the elementary school. That does seem like low effort, right?
Correct.
But making new ones is high effort.
High effort, sure.
I agree with that.
Yep. The MPP I'm discovering is somewhat high effort.
I was worried when you were saying low effort. I was like,
there's a lot of boards. But
Yeah.
I would agree, if you're gonna just do a modification to an existing,
yeah,
then no, the MPP is not required. It's if you're gonna create new in the space that it would.
Yep.
If you're gonna need to pull a building permit at some point in time or do significant earthwork,
I don't know what they've done up by the elementary school and
I don't either.
but what's at the Big Springs Park has been there for years.
Yeah.
And I just
I think
want
it's
to.
mostly Tom, right? Tom's right. Oh, it's Gavin too.
So Gavin and Dave. Yeah, and they actually even did fire mitigation for it, did all kinds of stuff. So I am advocating for a little trail that goes around it. And kind of.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, so that's what we did. Help out existing beginner bike trails like Big Streams in the elementary school. That's high impact, low effort. But building new beginner bike trails,
Yeah.
that's considered an infrastructure, goes to BAP.
It is I do want to say though, there are so few beginner mountain bike trails around here that I mean, the pump track
People
is
would
awesome too,
come.
but that's probably my favorite
People
idea
would
because there's like nowhere for beginners except Mud Lake.
There were 4 parking lots in Blackhawk full this weekend of mountain bike to use.
I know. And the amazing thing is, if you go and use those trails and you ride those trails, they're all directional, so you don't feel like there's this major crowd. You it feels like you're one of the few people out there, and it's just amazing.
Done.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a little bit more. We just got like 7 left. 3, 6, no, 8, 9. Okay, next winter rail park in town.
Oh my,
What?
that's fun.
Wait, what?
Like I think like a skate, like it's
A
the
rail park?
Next winter.
What does that
rail
mean?
Park.
Am I reading this wrong? Can somebody help me? Next winter rail park. Is that?
Hey, I can help you. Yeah.
Okay, what was it?
So it's like a hikeable park where you just walk back up. It doesn't need a huge incline, just enough where you can pick up some speed, and then you can like jump your skis or snowboard up onto boxes and rails and features like that. And so it's like a skate park, but in the winter, basically.
It's a terrain park, like at ski resorts?
Yeah, but it's like way more mellow.
It's a much smaller version. It's not a full-on terrain park.
High effort, massive high effort.
I also think, doesn't that require a ton of space?
We would probably need to collaborate. That would probably be a collaboration out of jurisdiction.
Where's a town that has an example, guys?
There was one that was done in Nederland a while ago as part of a festival.
Oh, it's like temporary?
Well,
no,
winter
there
is
was a
temporary.
Yeah, but there was a temporary one for a festival. Like there used to be a rail jam thing. Apparently, someone was telling me. I hadn't found anything about it, but
High impact. High effort.
Yeah, it's like something for youth and adults to do, but it's like a little winter skate park, and it's a good outlet. And all you need is some rails and boxes and some flattened snow. You kind of probably only have to flatten it after each storm. So there's effort for sure. I think the effort is fairly high, but I think the impact is pretty high. And also you have to find land, like, where are we going to put it, and where's
First
a good
Street.
spot for it that's not going to melt out as much. First Street. Yeah, there you
go. Okay, so this is in jurisdiction. You're suggesting finding it within town land?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure where else you'd put it, so that would be my first thought. Yeah, town land.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'd have to have a private land thing going on.
It's like stairs.
So, okay, we have a suggestion that this is a low impact.
Sure, I mean, I'm open to. Is this person who's got that it's low impact?
Low impact, high effort. Do we have any alternative arguments for that?
Yeah, just the argument would be that it's like an outlet for kids and youth and also adults in the winter, and it is a free way to go use skis and snowboards without having to have a pass, and you don't have to drive up to the mountain. You can use it at any time of the day. So anything that's an outlet, I think, from a park perspective in the winter when a lot of the other parks are like less usable, I think the impact is actually potentially quite high in that way. So I'd almost argue like medium impact, but I'm in favor of these things.
Like A Basin sponsored Silverthorns.
Did they? Okay, that's cool. I didn't know. That's awesome.
Maybe Eldora would sponsor one for us.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, that was completely the wrong spot. It's a high impact.
High impact, high effort. Put it high impact.
Yeah,
high
put it
effort.
upper right hand.
Yeah. It could have, especially if Eldora was closed, there could be a lot of people using it. But I think the effort is extraordinary, and I think the safety factor
Yeah.
is
That's what I was
holy
thinking.
crud. The liability factors.
I
I
think we
guess
need
just
to.
the question is, what's the difference then, like a bike trail or pump track or like a skate park? I'll just kind of ask that question.
Yeah.
I don't understand the difference, I guess, from a liability perspective.
It would be where the different, just a different safety.
Is it? I don't know. That's a question.
I'm not saying it's
Sorry,
any less dangerous or more dangerous than any of the other things that we're talking about. I'm just saying it's different.
Oh, that's fun.
okay, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
Okay. So we have
Seems like we're a winter community. We've got access to winter recreation as a community, so it makes sense to look at what our options are there. That's kind of my thought process.
Yeah.
That's all. And because other things become limited in the winter too, like bike trails and stuff like that.
That's true.
Okay.
So just thinking about the seasons where we're like, oh, well, we're investing in all these amazing bike trails. We actually can't use a lot of them.
I like it.
What about the downhill bike course, if that ever happens at the property over there?
Yeah, that could be an opportunity, like in one of those, for sure, like one of those already designated zones. It's like one of
Love that.
It's actually,
I'm gonna mute myself. Our mom's out surfing right now, and Ari's with me. So
that's
Okay.
that makes
I think
that
it's still
trail
high.
more-
I think it's still high effort
more
regardless, but
impactful.
Yeah.
could be impactful if it's done well.
Yeah, and I think utilizing a bike course in the winter to become a downhill
Exactly.
rail where it's dual purpose.
I do think effort is high for sure. It's
Right.
like physical features.
Maintenance effort is high too. Like
Yeah, definitely.
Eldora,
And if there could be a collaboration with Eldora, that could be like a good collaboration because they've probably got the equipment to help it.
yeah, and then knowledge.
Jesse, I don't know, do you have the equipment to do that kind of stuff?
Well, like Eldora would be great because then they have the knowledge of what the skier needs, the type of surface, the snow, all of those things.
That's okay. We'll put it over here in high effort, high impact, and get through the rest of these because it's okay if it stays over there. There's a couple of things here that say list of state and federal funding that can be used by ProStab, work with Connor Hall Outdoor Rec Office to learn about rural gateway rec grants and other grants. If it's okay, I'd like to put both of these behind somebody that's a dedicated director that goes after funding. Or do you guys feel like these are separate things that should not be? So the first one
Funding.
is to create a list of state and federal funding that can be used by ProSat.
Would that be as part of the pros at all?
Could be Prost, but I think either way, that's development director
Okay.
person as well.
Okay.
And then the other one was work with Connor Hall Outdoor Rec Office to learn about rural gateway rec grants and other grants. So it's all kind of around this theme of grants.
Great.
So it's having somebody dedicated to that.
Well, now I'm almost feeling like that should go in advocacy, the development director.
Is this, when you guys were originally talking about this, was this somebody that was going to be dedicated just to ProSat or probably?
I don't think so. I think that was when we talked historically with the board a couple of years ago about bringing on like a grants manager, development director
I thought we
for
had.
everybody.
Oh,
We have a
correct.
contracted one, but
Mm.
I
don't
put
really.
that, I put that in there.
I reallocated those funds for the compensation.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Jason, were you trying to say something? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I put that in there, and that wasn't based off of development director. It was just based off of information I already have. Like I have spreadsheets that just show all federal and some state funding that could be utilized today. But it just needs to be like thoroughly gone through and identify like certain programs. But I already have that available.
Cool. So low effort.
It's definitely low effort.
Okay, so these would be things that could be done
Low effort, high impact.
high
Especially because it's.
Well, and that's the development director is. The development director is in that as well.
I think, is that something we could do without having to hire someone, which is that's out of our.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're volunteering to offer that information, but then we would need someone to actually like take the time to go research which grants are best to apply for and then apply for them and write the grant, like, so I think like, is that right, Jason?
Right. It will still be a lot of work. But
It's still a lot of work.
but the difference is that you don't have to start from scratch, right? Like you're already gonna
Exactly.
have a list.
Yep.
And yeah. And I spoke with God, where's my phone? God. Oh, here we go. I'm not gonna hold y'all up. Y'all can keep going. But I did speak with someone named Liz McGuffey. Are y'all familiar with who that is?
Yeah, I know, Liz.
Okay, yeah, because I saw her at the farmers market that we had this past weekend, and she was talking about she had a former philanthropic arm that she used to do this work and had offered to sit down with me and just really go through all of this from her philanthropic perspective and help with this. So it's just a matter of scheduling a meeting with her, unless that doesn't seem appropriate.
Okay, so so this can be done outside of having that dedicated development director, high impact, low effort, basically list of the funding, working with folks for funding. If Jason already has the list, then does that seem appropriate to put that there?
Yeah, it's a box we can check.
Okay, question, this next
We
one,
can check.
ask BOCO, Boulder County, if we can take over East Reservoir Trail portion. Is this,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay,
and also high.
yeah, so that's why we've got mine. Okay.
Put on.
So folks that are online, to do that would require going outside of our jurisdiction. It's a long-term sort of ordeal. Network collaboration with Boulder County and City of Boulder Parks and Open Space groups.
I think that's in the sort of advocacy, like outreach part that we were saying could be like a separate list,
So network and collaborate.
like
with Boulder
networking
County.
and advocacy.
Yeah, network and collaborate with Boulder County, City of Boulder Parks, Open Space. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of these real quick, so just tell me where to go. Okay. All right, last four, noxious weed program. I do believe we have, where was the,
I feel like that was with the awareness of the rare species too, is the noxious weeds, that low impact, low effort.
I think
you-
more,
You had me rewrite ones, the noxious weeds one.
because it's a state law that we have to, I would say it's high effort, or I mean, high impact, low effort, because it's the law that we, that we have to follow. Or maybe it's the law is not the right term, but
Okay, volunteer pulling and education. So over here,
that's what I think.
anybody else disagree that it's high impact, low effort? Okay, this one says beautify First Street downtown with flower planters.
Wow, I love this, how specific this one is. Because
Yeah.
it's just like, oh yeah, go put some flower plants down on First Street.
But would you argue that's a DDA
Yeah, isn't it
beautification
DDA?
thing?
Advocacy.
Advocacy.
Isn't that what Judy is
Judy.
doing?
Right.
Mhm.
She's putting in all
Yeah,
the
and we actually have
plants.
some, if somebody had a specific spot that they thought wanted to go, we have a couple that we have to pull from the feed store. Remember the ones that are in the shade? The feed store.
But yeah, so if people aren't familiar, so Judy is a contractor hired by the DDA, and she's working right now on getting all of the planters and like the covered bridge and all
She
of
go
that.
on gardening outside.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was doing the turnaround
Yeah.
circle too. Yeah, she seems really great.
Yeah.
She helped us with town hall last
This
week.
is her second year. We have had somebody in there for a couple, we had somebody for 2 years that was a landscaper, not a gardener. Now we have a gardener. And then prior to the landscaper, we had a gardener as well. And
So are we
Really
really
makes
putting
a
that as word advocacy? Yeah.
huge impact though. And then it is something that I'm
Yeah.
very involved with, is the plantings and what they're doing.
Okay. How about a comprehensive ADA inclusivity compliance upgrades analysis?
Oh, yeah.
That's part of pros, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what the
Does
students
everyone
are doing,
agree?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If they
Yep.
ever.
And
They
High
kind of
impact.
did the analysis. It sounds like they did that analysis for at least for Chipeta.
Oh, you're right.
Parts
It's
of
just
it.
Chipeta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, so we can have that as a part of our updated pros when we hire out consultants. When you guys advocate for the funding for that facility or fall.
This is
right?
making me exhausted.
It's all connected, folks. It's all connected. All right, last one. All right, last one. Here we go. Y'all have a lot of ideas here. Okay. Get more involved in the SCORP plan and the regional plans and initiatives. My guess is Jason.
This
What's
is
SCORP?
definitely Jason.
What's a SCORP, Jason? SCORP?
I wrote it down in my notes and I forget last.
Sorry, it's the statewide comprehensive outdoor plan.
State right corporate, a comprehensive outdoor plan. Okay.
Smart.
Advocacy and networking?
Would you
Yeah.
suggest that it's something that we advocate for? Is this something that we have a hand in? Is it high impact, low impact? What is it for you?
I mean, it would probably be, I would probably count it as low. It'd be nice for networking and advocacy. I think it would be low effort for the most part. You could, just be involved. It's just like NOCO places, right? In this region, you would want to get involved, just kind of see what they're up to and what they're doing, and the potential funding that they typically are always advocating for that can go to things like ProDAP. So, yeah, I would count it as a low effort and maybe high impact, maybe.
Yeah, we got you. Yeah, we got you on that. High impact, low effort.
My dinner
And
at
it will go
4:30
into our
before
advocacy
putting
bucket.
it. So
Yeah.
hungry.
Within that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, congratulations. You guys got to that. Well done.
That's
Step one.
right. Every idea we had.
Time as well. It's not your fault, Nicole.
Okay, so I have a little bit of a curveball for you.
Oh,
I'm wondering
crap.
if this is something that you want to entertain, and if not, that's okay. So initially I was thinking, oh, well, you all would go through this process of prioritizing and identifying the top 3 to 5 that you feel like has to get done for the next year, maybe year and a half. But my question is, do you want this to go through the public process and ask for public engagement in terms of what community members would also be interested in prioritizing?
I think a lot of that is informed by public outreach we've already done, like for instance, the crosswalks at the school, connectivity, like a lot of that is already coming from significant public outreach.
And I believe our public is surveyed. No.
Yes.
Like
I did hear there's a Ned Head post out there talking about survey fatigue.
that's.
There is, in fact.
Right.
I think my concern with that would be that like both we have actually done a lot of public outreach to get to this point. Like, and there's also been outreach done for previous posts and that sort of thing. And also some of the things that really just like have to get done are certainly not gonna jump to the top, like updating the plan, right? Like, that just has to be done, and that's not
Right.
fun or sexy.
Exactly. There's so many data points, and I'll tell you the example that I have of where I thought, oh, I wonder. So I got into a text message exchange with one of our community members, and his comment was, well, the BOT is prioritizing a pump track and nobody wants a pump track. And it's like, well, there are some support for something like pump track. And he's like, I'm an elderly person. Pump track is not gonna do anything for me. You guys should be prioritizing a pool. And I was like, well, from your perspective, like, that makes sense. I can totally see that. And then it kind of just got me thinking, I was like, you know, up to this point, like all of their ideas are here. And then coming to the priority of it, I wonder if that's just, you know, another forum for public engagement. And if it's not, like, that's absolutely okay. But that exchange made me think, like, or perhaps you guys do prioritize, and I'm sure it would come up on, you know, one of your meetings as a discussion item or whatnot, and then that can be for public input or whatnot. But it did make me kind of think, that's interesting. So.
My hope is that ProSab would be my inclusive board that wanted to include, and also ProSab is, for me, these guys are my community voice. So I'm always hopeful. Like, I have a couple of board members that always will advocate for mountain bike. They will always advocate for the pump track. I'm hopeful that I have other board members that will advocate for the other things that are already important to the community. And then when it comes to me, I'm always trying to consider the accessibility and my senior population. You have to always consider, who are we leaving out? Which groups are we not reaching? Would we have more seniors coming if I had a better trail here? Would I have more diversity at the town parks if I did this or that, or had more Native American signs? Would I be bringing in more Native Americans? So I'm always hopeful that my ProSab board is my community outreach. That's, yes, I want to hear all of the voices, and I hope that these guys have taken, you know, considerations for other things, other than their own interests. Because there's always that. This is my own interest. Well, you're bored. So yeah, that's great. But consider the other interests, and consider that maybe there are other people that are going to want this downhill rail park more than they want a dog park.
Yeah.
So there's a balance.
So how do we,
Maybe we can have both.
maybe we could what?
Maybe we can have both in those type of situations.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Well, was it a vote, Sam, or both?
Both. In those type of situations where there's different things that people value, maybe we can have both. And, you know,
Certainly. But how do you prioritize what the goal
Like
is?
limited
Exactly.
time and resources.
We have like, what, 60 ideas?
So you gotta consider what's gonna get the highest impact, the highest amount of people. What are we gonna, you know, and then at the same time, you do have to consider that maybe what we need at Chiquita Park is some senior exercise equipment.
Ooh.
And something I've wanted for many a year.
I like put on the.
It's on Chipita's playground.
Oh, okay.
It's part of Chipita's playground. Is that up here? That should be up there.
Yeah, so it's something to think about in terms of how you're going to prioritize. Are you going to prioritize, you know, if something like an infrastructure project spreads across multiple generations? Does that get bumped up to the top? Or what?
Or
What-
needs a unmet.
What is it for you guys?
You know, what, tell me more. What is it? What is it that's going to help you figure out what's most important to this community? Because we can get stuck really quickly and it's like, that's the coolest thing because I would use it, right? Kind of a scenario. I think a lot of this gets generated from our own personal desires to like educate on noxious weeds or I have a doggy. I'm like, damn it, why don't we have a dog park?
Mhm.
Right? So what's the criteria that y'all gonna use to prioritize this?
I, I'm sorry to interject, but I would say, hell, all this would be for naught if you don't have money. So, um, uh, if you're prioritizing anything, I would say let's prioritize how we get this money, so that everything else becomes really easy, to actually do and implement. But
This state and federal funding.
Okay, so things that will provide revenue, money, that was something that we had talked about over there on high impact.
Mhm.
Wait, I'm
What's-
sorry.
Oh, sorry. I think maintenance on the things that we already do have should be a huge priority as well.
Yeah.
Because these are things that we have, or we're just gonna build these things and let them go too, you know? I
Protecting
think-
our amenities.
Yeah, we gotta take care of existing.
Mhm.
So how would you phrase that? How would you have me phrase that?
Park that, or
So is it the balance between the existing things that we have to maintain
yeah,
versus building, having new infrastructure?
that we're gonna have to maintain as well, so are we, yeah,
Okay.
prioritize.
Well, which are maintenance, Lindsay?
I think the,
There's a skate park.
Complete Barker Meadows
the
Park.
skate
Complete
park,
Barker Meadow.
and
That's
then-
an advocacy.
There's the court resurface.
There's the
The
court, the rink,
Those are
And I mean, even kind of like replacing the playground equipment. I mean, I understand that's replacing, but that's still like painting and there's other things you can do, re-graveling or whatever, that is just like maintenance on those things. So I think if we did maintenance on it,
So, protective,
then we wouldn't maybe have to replace that as often.
protection of existing assets.
And I feel
So
like
would
that
you-
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like the volunteer program and volunteerism ties into that too, because it's a part of maintaining existing.
So would you as a board be prioritizing maintenance of things before you would prioritize the building of new things?
You better.
I think I would.
We need to figure this out. We need to figure
Don't
this
take my
out.
word for it.
But then I actually feel like we might need to add that to one of the post-its, like supporting current infrastructure and maintenance and personnel or whatever, like just like supporting supporting and helping and whatever with the stuff that already exists.
Well, if we put this as a part of our criteria, like I'm kind of creating something here new, like our criteria, right, for prioritization. If we were to say prioritize first maintenance,
Oh, got it.
then when I come to, okay, creative volunteer program, gosh, that's really is prioritizing maintenance over the building of new infrastructure. Maybe that has a higher priority over a new bike track or pump track.
Yeah.
So this is what we're trying to suss out, is how is this board gonna make the decision of what is a priority?
Got it.
I think we have to be able to maintain what we currently have before we can add new things.
Okay, does anyone disagree with that? How about the folks online?
Yes, they definitely will.
I agree. We should be able to maintain what we have before we add new things.
Okay,
But I don't. I mean, I don't think we should slow down adding new things. I just think we should also maintain what we have.
I say maybe we pick like maintain and then like one new thing instead of 5 shiny new things and let the other things go. So I'm not
Or
saying,
ensure that
like-
we have a maintenance plan.
yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
saying maybe we slow down on the new things so we can maintain all of it.
Yeah. And I think that was part of the hope of this session, was that we could really prioritize choosing just like 2 or 3 things, maybe 2, besides what already, right? Like Barker Meadows needs to be done, like the rink needs to be supported, the whatever needs to be resurfaced. And then maybe like, I'm just saying this as examples, like a pump track and a dog park, like, I don't know. And like, we obviously, an updating of the plan, like, you know.
so if I say maintain first, then do shiny, we all know what that means? Okay, what about this whole thing about the generations? Is that
Yeah.
something that you guys will consider as a part of prioritizing?
I mean, I would say overall, like one of the things it's so overall, like the concept of inclusivity and accessibility, like that is sure, yes, that also means the ADA stuff, but it also means like how many, like, is this going to be is this going to be a useful thing to support for the most people and or an unmet need, right? Like, so it might not be every single person, but like, for example, like senior exercise equipment could be a pretty crucial unmet need. ADA, like compatibility on trails, is an incredibly crucial unmet need. I also think like beginner bike tracks could be a pretty good, but anyway, just like, so like either, like I would say either it's like super like lots of people and or it's like an unmet need for a community that's like a subgroup that needs it or is asked for it.
Is there agreement there? Does somebody have an alternative viewpoint?
I would just say I feel like the pump track and the dog park fall into that
Yeah.
category.
Now, does something that stratifies and has more inclusivity, maybe stratifies, you know, from a diversity standpoint, more age groups, does that have a higher priority over an unmet need?
I think it would depend on the project.
Does it? This is for you guys to kind of all, like, as you're, you know, weighing these things, it's like, what does have a higher priority over the next thing?
Yeah. Well, I think unmet need also can tie into like bringing, you know, revenue and bringing outsiders to the town. Like if there's the unmet need may not necessarily be specific to Ned or, you know, like we could be attracting other people from outside the town based on these unmet needs that we're trying to fill.
Well, not necessarily, like the senior playground equipment, not playground, exercise equipment.
I mean, why not? We all need to play, people.
Yeah.
The closer I get, the more I know that I will play when I'm a senior. So, but that's a need in our community, an outdoor exercise equipment for a senior. Maybe not would bring in more people, probably not, maybe though. Maybe it would just give the seniors more of an opportunity to do and be outside, mobility, etc. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt?
But I think if we did like accessibility, like if our trails were more accessible, then it could bring in a more.
1,000%.
You know, like
If our trails were more accessible, that's part of the reason I did the 2017 GoPro grant, was because I was watching the senior citizens coming up from Boulder on because they take the big van up and there's multiple different senior living facilities that'll come up. They'll park in the parking lot. The seniors refused to get off the van back then because they couldn't make it down the trail to the pavilion. So they refused to even get off the van. Well, then I put in the new trail and at least now they can get to the pavilion. Well, if I could maintain those trails on a regular basis and keep them from being flooded and.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Anything else in terms of the criteria that we will use to help us decide what gets prioritized? Besides, will it bring in revenue? Will it help us maintain what we have first and then create some cool new shiny stuff? Will it help us from a diversity, inclusion, and accessibility standpoint? And will it provide an unmet need? What else? What is another piece of criteria we should consider?
I think like foundational, like I'm thinking of the pros, like things that are necessary building blocks for other things. I don't know what else falls in that category. I mean, some of the like identifying potential grants and all that also falls within that category.
I think that's similar to what I was just thinking. So something along the lines of like building, like sustainably building towards like building the department, the program, like foundational is like a really good word for it. Like focusing on how to
Foundational
Sustainably
building
have.
blocks or something.
Yeah.
Would you say sustainably what? Or
Foundational building blocks, but I feel like that's kind of redundant.
foundational building? Like, so is it basically sticking true to the pros? Does that like hook?
I think it's like what can help ProSab be sustainable over time so that they have something like they have identified revenue streams, they have identified priorities in the pros or feasibility studies or whatever that's going to then be the foundation that everything else originates
Foundational.
from.
So create long-term sustainability for the parks and
Parks and Trails and Net.
trails and
Yeah.
I just want to second that. I think that's a great
We're not like
approach to it in general.
Sam, do you mind talking a little louder?
Yeah, I just want to second that. I think that's a great approach, building that foundation, and then whoever's on board over time, like, can pursue the specific things, and it gives us the foundation to do things. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, no, that was great.
Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so to create a sustainable, long-term,
Framework?
framework, foundation, right, for ProSab.
I like that word too, sustainable. Is
And
your
I
goal?
think that allows the things that are exciting to happen over time, because of course they just don't happen all at once ever. But with the framework, then, oh, this is the trend, or this is the thing that people are passionate about on the board, or the community would love to see that's happening in other communities, or we can be a first in. And then with that foundation, we're like, cool, let's go do it, versus, is this a priority? You know, do we have the resources?
The criteria needs to have something about sustainable. Is it sustainable? Is
Right.
it financially sustainable? Is it
Maintenance sustainable.
sustainable? Is it long-term sustainable? That's just me. Is it
Okay.
something that's gonna go away in a year?
You only get 5. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that.
Oh, really?
So I like
Yes, and the reason why is because, again, if we create too many, but if that is important,
sustainable.
then it needs to go.
It's already right. The word's already there.
Do we need to tweak this a little bit in order to create? So this is about creating a long-term framework, but this is also creating programs that are sustainable.
So I would say in all of your criteria, ask yourself if it's sustainable. But I don't think sustainable needs to be, you can keep your goals the same, the way they are there.
Would it be just the revenue one to say sustainable, parentheses, does it bring in money? Is it like, do we have the
Financially
manpower to maintain it?
And-
Like just kind of
That's
tweak
good.
revenue.
That's good.
Okay.
Because revenue is one way something
Bring
might
in
be
money,
sustainable.
and is it financially feasible?
Sustainable. Use the word sustainable.
Sustainable. Yes, Captain.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry they cut off whoever I cut.
So the one thing I do think we sort of have there under unmet need and inclusion, except, but like, I think we need things that have community support.
Okay.
Unmet need and community support?
That could be, or slash or whatever. Like, I just think like we don't want to be forcing things through that like 5% of
Don't go
the
off the
community is interested in. We also don't want to be stopping just because 5 really loud people are yelling about it. But like stuff that like in general, the community supports, like a plurality or a majority or whatever.
Alignment with community.
Yeah, like community support, like community wants this. Like,
Where do I put that?
well, I was saying that it's kind of like after unmet needs slash, it could be, I didn't realize we could only have 5, so, but like, I mean, to me, that's like besides sustainability, community support is the second most important thing.
I might give you just one more.
Okay.
No more than that.
Good job.
Right, like we shouldn't ever be doing anything that like isn't generally, so again, it's not 100% support, that's never gonna happen, but like, we need to be doing things that the most of the community wants us to be doing, that's our job.
So
in
should
my
we make it
opinion.
majority
communities?
The next step to put their 5 favorites from up here?
Yeah, so, wait, I wanna make sure
In
your
4
your
minutes.
questions- No, we're not gonna do it in 4 minutes because we're not that.
That's why I was like,
Because we're not that good, and we are gonna end on time. But this is something, as I was kind of looking at everything, I was like, oh, I don't know if we're all on the same page in terms of how do we prioritize this, right?
Totally.
What's the criteria? And so I kind of took a step back and I was like, no, we probably need to go through this process, right? And so here we have gone through this process. If you are open to it, I think the next step would be, if it's okay, I would like to take these and categorize them for you. These are basically your values or how you're going to make the decisions. And if you think about it, it's almost like a Venn diagram. If there was a project that hit all of these things, like boom, we're doing it, right? Like that, it would be that's a number one. It flows to the top, no questions asked, kind of a thing. right? And so what I want to do is I want to put this into a Venn diagram for you and say, here are your options. Now you have to choose. And we'll do it in a kind of an online format, if you guys are okay with that. And you can just go and click and say, 1, 2, 3, this is my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is Nikki's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll go from there.
I'll second.
What do you guys think?
That sounds
Yeah.
great. Thank you so much for.
Yeah.
So you might have a sunshine law issue there if they're engaging with one another in a platform.
Don't engage, only vote.
Yeah, just vote.
Like if they can vote and they can't see each other's results, but if they're able to engage with one another, that's where it gets a little tricky.
So we can vote and not show each other what the results are until the end.
Don't
That's
reply.
great.
So
Don't reply.
is that a meme? Because I hope it's a meme somewhere because it should be a meme.
Don't
Like
reply.
all.
Don't make it. Yeah. No, I feel like as long as it's just a survey, it's good to go.
Carolyn,
Okay.
don't reply all.
Yeah, so we'll do it that way. We'll do it in online form, so it's asynchronous, so you guys can get to it when you need to. When's your guys' next meeting?
The
15th.
15th is early this
2.5 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, we can have that, and then we can have the reports. And then if necessary, you guys can kind of come together perhaps for your meeting and really nail it down. And it's like, here's what we'll move forward with.
So basically each of us will be 1 through 5 ranking which projects we think are the top 5 most important.
And that fit within the criteria that we've just outlined.
And are we gonna be like, just you're saying we're checkboxing like each piece of the criteria, or just making our decisions based on that criteria?
Making your decisions based, because you may have something, like it was suggested that maybe the pros hits all of them, right? But you may have something else, like, I don't know, a dog park where maybe technically, I mean, is it really gonna bring in revenue? Probably not, right? But it's cool from a diversion or from a inclusion perspective. If there's definitely an unmet need, there's no dog park. So it might not hit all of it, but it's at least some guiding principles for you guys to make the decisions. So you can really weigh, because again, it kind of helps remove us from some of our pet projects that we might have of like, oh, damn, it doesn't even hit 4 of them, or it doesn't even hit 3 of them.
Like a pump truck, for example.
Say that again.
It's like a pump.
I was joking. I said a pet project, like a pump track.
You know, there are plenty of them on here. It's just, it helps us remove some of that bias as much as we can, even though it's nearly impossible. It does help also when it comes to the debate of it as well, right? If you're trying to push something and someone says, where's the revenue? Where's the ability to maintain? Where's the diversion and inclusion? It's not that it's a no, it just may not mean right now.
And are you removing the adapters?
I am going to remove and I'm going to remove advocacy as well.
Okay.
Great.
Is
So-
Weir Bridge out of jurisdiction, Nikki?
Where Bridge is,
Yeah, so can we move that one?
thank you,
No.
it is. So I will remove this and I will remove advocacy. Those will just be things that you guys will maintain throughout your time together, throughout the next year and a half, and we're just going to debate the things that.
And I would
Do you
also
mind
argue that
including those as a list, like
Absolutely.
like, so
Yeah,
we can
just we have them
yeah.
somewhere.
complete
that is-
Barker Meadows is probably advocacy for them as well. Cause that's just my team that's got complete Barker Meadows.
I mean, you have volunteer
I
days
have
and
those.
such.
I do have volunteer days.
Yeah.
Oh, is this the,
Yeah.
GoPro? This is GoPro? Okay.
You're saying just take that off because it's gonna be
Because it
done.
has to be done.
Has to be done.
We have a deadline
I
and we
just
can't
need
go
your
past
guys to pat my
No
back,
more, no
push
more.
me
no
along and show up for the volunteer days.
Be like, 'cause it's
I'll
gonna be
be
done
there
in like
tomorrow.
July.
Yeah. And,
Sorry.
yeah.
Any other questions, thoughts, comments, snide remarks?
Thank you for facilitating this.
With my.
No problem, no problem. This is fun. And I have to say, like, I know Jesse's on the board and this helps him, but this helps also, like, from a prioritization, because the BOT is going through its own goal setting. And how we prioritize that is always very much based on what the other advisory boards are suggesting. And so,
And we can like send this to y'all after it's all done, right? There'll be
Absolutely.
enough time.
absolutely.
Okay.
Also, I'm doing the same process for NDDA. I did it for SAB as well. And so I think it's really healthy for us to kind of see, okay, how do you then intersect? I mean, we could try to do this kind of cool web thing at the end of like where you guys have dependencies on each other. And that's cool.
Yeah, I would love to see.
Can we have like a Venn diagram of the Venn diagram and then?
Don't be getting too excited now. Okay? Don't be getting too excited. All right, folks online, thank you for your time.
Thanks, everybody.
See you soon.
Oh my God, Nicole, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
This has been fun.
Nikki, there's volunteering tomorrow. There.
Are you gonna come?
Yes, volunteer day.